Afternoon everyone, obviously just Warren on top table. We'll bring Alan in just for the writers, so I've had a bit of sit down with the writers for once. Dad, want to kick us off with Warren, please?
Warren, is this a bit of a strange experience now? This will be the last time you name a Wales team to hit the field?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it too much. Haven't had a lot of time to think about it. Obviously, we're disappointed not to be in the final, but playing the All Blacks, you've got to be pretty excited about that. So we've had a couple of days where we need to just reflect on last weekend and then get excited about Friday. A very short turnaround. Both teams have made a number of changes, and that's to be expected.
Dad, wait, let this have a microphone. Guys, we got a microphone if you wanted to use it, or no, carry on. Don't bother.
You mentioned those days to reflect. Can you give us an idea of how it's been for you and the squad, both reflecting on what's gone and what you've got to look forward to now?
It's been some experience. I've said a number of occasions that I never thought I would have been in Wales for 12 years. I was lucky enough to have a couple of sabbaticals with the Lions, and that was really good for me mentally. Been privileged to have worked with a group of coaches and backroom staff that we've been incredibly close over that period of time, and I think that's made things so much easier for us in terms of the synergy and being on the same page. And then the players that I've worked with, probably 3 squads over that period really, in terms of I've had some outstanding individuals and players that I've been very lucky to coach. And lastly, I just really would like to thank the Welsh public. They've been challenging at times, but they've made it worthwhile in terms of just how welcoming they've been for me in Wales, and just hospitable. It really is a second home for me being in Wales, and I'm going to miss being there. But you've got to look forward and be excited about the opportunities going forward. So one more game, and then start thinking about the next challenge and being involved back in New Zealand with Super Rugby.
You mentioned after the Ireland game back in the summer that it was quite an emotional team talk. How do you envisage this team talk going?
I've had a few tears, and that was the last game at the stadium. This is a bit different. This is obviously it's an end of an era for a lot of people. We have a management meal tomorrow night. It'll be our last management meal together. So we want to make sure that we enjoy that, and hopefully Alan Phillips books a nice restaurant for us to be able to go and do that. And for a number of players, this will be probably their last World Cup game. So it's there's a lot of people involved, not just myself, coaches and backroom staff, and obviously players who potentially, whether they carry on in their international career, but a lot of them realise that they'll be their last World Cup opportunity, and for them, they're very disappointed, obviously, not to be involved in the final, but a chance to create a little bit of history in terms of playing the All Blacks. It's been a long time. 66 years is a heck of a long time to not beat a side, and we've had success against every other nation, and the All Blacks has been that elusive team that we haven't been able to conquer. So there's a lot at stake, even though I think both teams are very disappointed they're not involved in the big game, but there's still definitely something at stake, and a lot of pride, and a victory for us would be incredibly special.
You mentioned the disappointment of missing out on the big game. Sometimes the third place playoff is seen as a game that nobody wants, but as you've alluded to, this one's got plenty riding on it, not just for you personally, but for the squad.
Yeah, I think for both teams. I think if you look at the All Blacks have made 7 changes, and it's definitely reflective of some of the players in the squad that haven't been involved, whether they're in the 23, and a number of players that are probably wearing the All Black jersey for the last time. So there will definitely be motivation for them to want to go out and perform and play one last time in that black jersey. For some of them, they'll know it is their last time, so that's be very motivating for them, and for us, we're very much in the same boat as well. So even though we'd like to be probably not playing the third and fourth playoff, I think on reflection, you've got to put that behind you and realise that there's quite a bit at stake really for a number of players and for staff, and All Black coaches moving on. Steve Hansen's moving on as well, and there'll probably be changes in that setup too. So I think it's an opportunity for us to go out there and give our best, and then perhaps reflect afterwards. And the big challenge for us as a group, and I've been so proud of this group of players, and even the disappointment of Sunday, I was still proud of the effort. I was still, we didn't give up, and at 16-all we had a chance to potentially win that game, but it wasn't to be. But one of the things about this group of players is that how much pride they've shown in wearing that Welsh jersey, and I think it would be easy for us to be down on ourselves and to throw in the towel, sort of thing. But I expect these players to have the next 48 hours to lift themselves and to go out there and realise that there's an opportunity for that group to potentially do something special.
And just in terms of the team itself, 9 changes. I know you said the injuries aren't an excuse, but they're a reality of this campaign, aren't they? Can you talk through how difficult it was putting this team together, considering all the injuries that you've suffered?
It wasn't really difficult at all, because I think we didn't have a huge choice in the backs. We did contemplate, whether after Sunday did we fly out a few players, but to fly someone out to hold some bags for a couple of days probably wasn't the best thing. And if we wanted to give some players that chance, we feel like Thomas Williams definitely deserves a chance. Want to see Reece Patchell at 10, given that going forward with Gareth Anscombe's injury and Dan Biggar not always available to Wales because of his commitments in England, Owen Watkin deserves a chance. And then the back 3 were really the last 3 standing in terms of Josh Adams, and it's great to see Owen Lane get a chance to play. He was very unlucky in the first place not to be in the squad. We were really impressed with him and that game against Ireland, and he's a great addition to the squad. And then Hallam gets a chance at fullback in a position where we see potentially his future as well. So and then in the forwards, a few changes, a bit of experience. Some guys, we realise this will probably be their last World Cup game for Wales, and so we recognise that, and then just making a couple of changes to freshen the legs as well.
Finally, for me, if I could, on the players injured, some new concerns to me: Halfpenny, Aaron Wainwright, and then could you post the latest on George North and Thomas Francis, please? George North and Aaron Wainwright have hamstring injuries, which have ruled them out. Lee Halfpenny, after the game, had an HIA, which, and with the 5-day turnaround, was unavailable because you need a minimum of 6 days for that. So he wasn't in consideration. And then, Tom Francis, probably at a push could have been fit, but with the shoulder injury, thankfully it wasn't as serious as we first thought, but it's a bit loose in terms of that, and so we didn't consider him. And it's a great chance for Dylan Lewis to start at tight head, and then for Nicky Smith to be disappointed that he hasn't had a lot of starts and chances as well. So him starting at loose head as well. So there's a few guys who hopefully want to go and prove a point that perhaps they should have been had more rugby in this tournament, and that's it's a good position for them to be in, and a good position for us to hopefully be positive about the changes and giving players an opportunity.
Warren, you obviously had your team selection meeting. Were you conscious going in that was your final team selection meeting as a coaching group with Wales, and was there anything perhaps different about it?
Yeah, it was different because we spoke about lots of different options in the selection. It wasn't so much about our last selection meeting. It was more about what were our thoughts, and some of it was very much on, like I said, recognising some of those players that were playing their last game, like I said, last World Cup game, but also being conscious, and I've always been conscious about, what's left behind, and there's some young players that, particularly for the future, need an opportunity for them to play against the All Blacks and a big game and the World Cup. We felt that was important, that we just didn't think about ourselves and that we didn't think insular. It was looking at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is what's best for Welsh rugby, and some of it is about giving those players an opportunity to perform on the big stage, and players that we feel are players of the future, and those are the players like Thomas Williams, Owen Watkin, Owen Lane as well, Helen Amos, someone like Adam Baird to Dylan Lewis. So a number of those players, it's a big opportunity for them to go and stake a claim, and I think Welsh rugby will hopefully benefit from the experience that they get on Friday.
You touched on, obviously, it's another chance for you guys to expose these players and things like that, but the way that modern Test rugby is a lot of people questioning the relevance of this game, especially with the short turnaround that you guys have got. Do you share any of those concerns about this game?
Yeah, I think it's the last game that you want to be involved in, but it's been on the calendar. We've known about that. Everyone's sort of known about that. I think Steve Chu made a joke to Martin Phillips that maybe both teams should have a boat race and we could settle it that way. So I could see the relevance in that. So look, we've got a game, and you put the disappointment behind it, but then you think about the chance of playing against the All Blacks, and that kind of gets you excited, and hopefully, as coaches, we've put that disappointment of sort of that first 48 hours behind us, and can start getting excited for the next 48 hours, and the group of players as well, and go out there and perform well in the World Cup. And as I said, and if we play, we want to go out there and be positive in the way we play. I think the All Blacks will do exactly the same, and both teams, it's quite similar in terms of the selection, I think, and the synergy between what we're trying to achieve as both teams. But I think both of us all want to be very positive in the way that we want to play.
Warren, I know he's not here, but just give us an update on Liam Williams. Has he had surgery?
I think he was surgery yesterday. I think he might have been, yeah. So
is it like a long term?
I think it'll be 3 months, I suppose. That those sort of that surgery takes about that long. So if we'd made the final, he'd still be here with us. But in fairness to Saracens, and they had agreed that. But if we weren't, they wanted him back to get surgery as quick as he possibly could.
Eddie Jones seems to have a bit of fun responding to your comment the other day after the semi-final. Sorry, just wondered what your view was on that.
Which comment did I make?
The one about teams maybe playing their final and semi-final.
I was reflecting on experiences that I've seen in the past, and I was probably more about 2011 with the All Blacks. I thought, there was a big game against Australia in the semi-final, and I felt that for them, they probably looked at that as their final, and having France in the final, that was probably a game that they thought they would could potentially win comfortably, and it ended up being a really tight game. So it was just observations that I'd made of the past, and I thought England were excellent against the All Blacks, probably the best that I've seen England play in the last 10 years or so. I thought they were outstanding. So I think it'll be a great final, two physical teams, and it'll be nice to see a Northern Hemisphere team win the World Cup, and would have been great if two of us were in the final, but it's not to be, and I wish them all the best. And there's a lot of players that I've been lucky enough to have personal contact with through the Lions, and just want to wish them all the best.
Warren, one serious question, one not so serious. Who would win the boat race?
Brandy Davis, I think.
And the serious one, obviously.
We might have one after the game, maybe. So.
The serious one was England's response to the haka. They'd be fined for that, for approaching over the halfway line. What are your thoughts on that as a New Zealander and as a Test coach? And then obviously, do you have a plan yourselves?
No, we haven't even spoken about the haka, so we might do a W for Wales, I think. So it hasn't really crossed. But I thought that you weren't allowed to go across the 10-metre line, so I thought both teams had to line up on the 10. So I didn't realise the halfway was the mark. So the All Blacks do that on the 10-metre line, and I thought the other team had to do that. So look, I think the way teams want to respond to the haka is completely up to them, and for them, doing something like that, that was completely respectful as far as I'm concerned. They didn't turn their backs or anything like that, and they stood there and received the haka. Ireland and Chicago a few years ago, did a number 8 in respect for Anthony Foley. Other teams have responded in their own way, and I was thankful that England didn't do some Morris dancing. So, but I thought, that was a perfect response, and I can remember looking back a number of years ago when I was involved with the All Blacks against Ireland, and Willie Anderson. They linked arms together and sort of marched forward, and afterwards they were severely criticised by the press and how disrespectful that was. And as All Blacks, no one mentioned a thing afterwards. No one said a thing. They just, you can respond in your own way. And to me, that they were accepting the challenge, and that's what England did. And the part of the haka is that you stand up and you face and you accept the challenge, because the haka is challenging you. It's challenging lots of things about you mentally, how tough you are. Physically, they're throwing down the gauntlet at you, and it's important that you don't take a backward step, and that you stand up and you respond in an appropriate way, respectfully, and I thought England did that.
Warren, can I just ask about one final match against Steve Hampson? You've had some great battles at Lions level and obviously Wales level as well. You must be looking forward to one last crack.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to win in a Welsh jersey. It's his last game involved as well, and what he's achieved as a coach is absolutely outstanding in terms of number of times they've retained the Bledisloe Cup, the championship wins as well. Obviously, his involvement with winning 2 World Cups one as an assistant and one as a head coach. There's no doubt that he'll leave a legacy behind in terms of what he's achieved as an All Black coach. It's outstanding, and very much like me, he started his international coaching experience with Wales and learnt from that. I've learnt a heck of a lot from my time as an international coach. Looking forward to challenges going forward, but there's no doubt that he's he's made a massive impression on New Zealand rugby, and I think it'll be a big loss.
Final question, please.
Well, Ronnie, contribution about rugby is well documented. What has Wales given you over 12 years, and do you have one about your memory?
What have Wales given me? I think Wales, what they've given me is an opportunity, really. And I've just absolutely loved my time, and we've been lucky enough to have had, a reasonable amount of success, a lot of success. There's been some lows and some disappointments. But for me, I'm very proud of what we've achieved. I think we've punched massively above our weight, and success as a coach isn't always about winning. I think success is about overachieving and overachieving as a team, and I think we've definitely done that. For a very small playing nation, very proud nation with a lot of history, and the biggest memory that I have is, I think, the smile that we've put back on Welsh faces, and people are proud to wear that red jersey and go and support the team, and that makes a massive difference to the whole of Wales and to the community, that they're proud of that Welsh rugby team now, and they know that those players who put the jersey in, they go and wear it with pride, and they'll give 100%. And as coaches and as a public and supporters, that's all you can ask for. If you get beaten by a better team on the day, that's okay. But if you know your boys are going out there and trying and giving 100, you can accept that. And I feel that's what we've achieved in that 12-year period.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Cheers, thanks guys.